the traffic. It was the traffic.
Hi, Carl.
Good morning, everyone.
Are we good? Good morning. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Airport District Board of Directors, March 20th, 2024. If we could have a roll call, please.
Director Gagliotti, Director Pick,
Here.
Director Sani is absent today, Director Miller,
Here.
and Chair Leffel.
Here, thank you so much. Director Gagliotti, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communications announcements.
None from staff other than a reminder about Friday.
What?
A reminder about Friday. We start at 8:30. The consultant will be here this evening and we're going to spend the day with him tomorrow. So, and you should have, yesterday, you should have an electronic version of the draft agenda that he put together. So, lots of good things to talk about.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
No.
I got a thank you note from the Central Coast Art Association directed to all the board. Thanks for this amazing opportunity to showcase the Monterey Airport. To showcase at the Monterey Airport. We are proud to collaborate with the airport and community. Kind regards, Lori. So.
Just a real quick comment. Great interview the other day on KSBW. They really gave us a lot of time to highlight a lot of good things happening at the airport. So that was a nice interview.
Thank you. Appreciate that. They always do us a good job and apparently it was on this morning as well.
Okay, yeah, a lot of time donated to that, everything that we're doing here. So yeah.
It's nice when they have a slow news day, you get.
Yeah, we
extra
get to get better coverage.
There you go.
Anyone else?
Do you want
Oh, yes,
do you
Scott,
want the informational item about the recent Supreme Court case now?
please.
Okay. There was a recent Supreme Court case that was issued on Friday related to Facebook and blocking individuals from commenting on your pages or deleting their comments. And it's actually a very helpful opinion. It is not final yet because it is being sent back down to the district court for further hearings, but it gives you some really good guardrails on Facebook. I'll go over the facts really quickly and then I'll give you the take home message. There will be a written memo that one of my associates is preparing that I will forward to you and to all of our clients, but you'll get it. Staff members will get it. A city manager had a personal Facebook page that again posted pictures of his family and personal events, things like that. But from time to time would post work events related to the city for which that individual worked. Of course, one of the local members of the community would make comments, particularly negative comments, and to use the city manager's words, abusive and stupid comments was what the city manager said. So he would delete them, then eventually blocked this individual from commenting on his Facebook page. So of course, the individual sued, went all the way up to the US Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave some really good guidelines, and what the Supreme Court ruled was that an individual can have a Facebook page that is personal in nature and that you can block individuals unless you are speaking as an official of the agency and authorized by that agency to talk about that subject matter. So one of the comments that really is one of the pull-out messages was the Supreme Court said that it is an extremely persuasive statement to put on your Facebook page. This is my personal Facebook page and not, related to my position as an elected official or as my, as a city manager or whatever your official position is. That is not to say that a personal page can't be converted into an official page.
Mhm.
Again, if you have been authorized by an agency to speak on a matter, and particularly a chair might be in that position from time to time. If, for example, and I'll just, let me pick something from recent history. Once we had a new contract signed with the airport for fire service with the city of Monterey, you may be authorized to make public statements about that, right? Well, in that instance, that comment would be a public comment if you put it on your personal Facebook page. But having said that, the most simple solution is, if you really want to have a public Facebook page, then have a personal one and a public one as a public official. But again, the biggest take home is, most of you are not authorized to speak on any particular individual matter. As the spokesperson of the airport. So if you include the phrase that on your Facebook page at in the about me or in the heading part, that it is your personal Facebook page and the opinions are your own. That is the Supreme Court ruled that is very strong evidence and a very strong presumption that would have to be overcome by facts. Now, that's why it was sent back down to determine in that instance, the court will now look at the facts and make a factual ruling. Did that page become public versus private? But those are some pretty good guardrails. There will be a written memo about this that I will email out to staff and to the board. But again, the take home message, clearly identify your Facebook page if you have one, or Instagram, or the medium formerly known as Twitter. Whatever you use, whatever social media you use, make sure you clearly identify in the about me or in the informational section that it is your personal page and that the opinions are your own. That's the biggest take home message I can give you. And for those that are playing at home, the case is Linke versus Freed. And again, if you want the opinion, I can email it to you. Came out on Friday. It's about 18 pages worth, and it's one of the few where the Supreme Court was unanimous, 9-0.
Nice.
So thank you for getting on that. When I read it, I was like, oh boy, this is good. So, okay, so do we have any other informational communications? Okay, close it. Public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Open it up to the public. I see none. Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Consent agenda. Did anyone from the public like to pull an item?
Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom.
I move that we pass the consent agenda.
Second.
A first and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Gagliotti, Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Leffel.
Yes, thank you. All right. So we will go to interviews and consider candidates for the financial auditor.
I don't see our first presenters online yet. All presenters will be here on Zoom and we're asked to come at their allotted time.
Which is
Okay,
about 5
let's go
minutes.
ahead then on item 2 and give them time. Item 2 is resolution number 1867, a resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds for the purchase of an EV maintenance truck.
Whitney, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. After the adoption of Resolution 1866, accepting the grant from the Air Quality District, we went out, we found a truck. It is the twin sister to the truck that we purchased last year. It's a 2023 F-150 Lightning. Has 45 miles on it. And we'd like to adopt this resolution so that we can take possession of this truck.
Okay, Again, it's under budget, which is good. So,
This is in budget. We did get a grant for $10,000 from water quality or from air quality.
the resources board.
Yeah, air resources. And these things go pretty quickly off the lot. So we wanted to move this one as quickly as we could so we can capture this.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
I have one,
Okay.
just one, and that is, I don't want to delay anything, because I recognize the immediacy of need it, but wasn't the sentiment of the current lightning not in high, it wasn't held in high regard? Like, I thought our staff didn't like the truck, or I'd heard that, I'd heard some rumblings. Is that true?
Rumblings are sometimes just rumblings.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I would not advise that you pay attention to those.
Well, no,
Our guys like the truck. There's
Okay.
one thing that unfortunately, EV trucks across the board suffer from, and that's a short bed.
And I think that's what you're referring to, because I was going to ask the same question. Are we going to have something on the airport that has a longer bed for when they need it? Because now we're replacing another truck with another short bed. So I had the same question because
So 2 comments to those questions. Number 1, we do still have some trucks in fleet that do have a standard bed. Number 2, there are modifications, if you will, bed extenders. You lay the truck bed down
Yeah,
and then
and-
you get a gate. So you get a little bit more space. It is still essentially a shorter bed, but that's something that we will do to mitigate that qualm.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
question.
so it was that your thing, John? Yeah,
But
it
I
was
didn't
mine
know what
too.
the issue was, but I just heard that there was something that they didn't like about this truck.
Yeah, well, Mike actually told us that. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the rumbling that we heard from anybody on your staff.
Short bed.
We heard it from you that it was a short bed
Yeah.
and that was a little bit of an issue. Do you know?
Nope,
Okay,
I'm good.
so as long as it works for us, I guess we're good. So I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, can I just ask a quick question? The 71,000, is that the final cost for this?
It is, yes. That
Okay.
includes radios, beacons, paint, or stick signage.
So just a few details. So district is writing check for $61,000.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
the 10 is off.
Well, that's pretty good. What color is it?
Metallic gray,
Oh, I don't like that color.
No, like,
No, how close is it to the other?
I
color?
believe it's the exact same color.
Oh,
as the
that'd be
other.
good. It
Yes.
gives some uniformity.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
good. Okay. Yeah, I'll
Entertain
make a
motion?
motion that
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Go
go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of our second electrical truck.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Gagliotti,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Leffel.
Absolutely, thank you. Do we have everybody now? Denise?
Brandon's part.
Okay, but she said we didn't have everybody, so I'm asking, do we have everybody?
I'm promoting Brandon Young from LSL right now.
Okay,
Everybody, hear me okay?
yes.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Morning, Brandon.
Good morning.
Mark, you want to tee this up?
Good morning, Brandon. So, for the board, the board made the decision that it would be appropriate to revisit, the external, financial auditor for the district, as LSL has been, the auditor for the district for 6+ years. And so we've asked LSL to come back, to, give us their request for qualifications and to present their thoughts on continuing with the audit, albeit with a new partner, and that would be a transition from Brandon to the new partner.
Yeah, sounds great. So I have a brief PowerPoint. Do you want me, can I go ahead and maybe share it and then we'll open it up to questions? Does that work?
That's fine. Yes, go ahead.
All right, let me get it going here. All right, you all see this okay?
Just fine, Brandon. Thanks.
All right, sounds good. So I will again, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present our qualifications. In a perfect world, Ryan Domino would be here presenting. He's doing a road trip with his family and kind of in the mountains. So I'm filling in. So you're getting to see me one last time here. So this would be the proposed team, for the new engagement. As was mentioned, we have worked for the airport for 5 years. So we finished our first 5-year contract as the auditors. And would welcome the opportunity to continue doing so. So this would be the new proposed team with kind of some familiarity and also some fresh faces for a fresh perspective and just some different insight. So Ryan Domino would serve as your engagement partner. He's been the concurring partner in years past. So he has reviewed the documents previously and is familiar with the airport. He also has worked with Monterey Airport in the past. He used to work with the city of Palm Springs, so he has some airport experience as well. I would switch to the concurring partner, which would kind of help with consistency, just for airport history, background on anything unique to the agency, to make the transition as smooth as possible and be the second set of eyes as a reviewer. A couple of people you see on here, more just added resources, kind of on an as needed basis. Kelly Telford is our consulting partner. She comes from the government side and has been a finance director herself. So we utilize her skill set a lot of times to design audit procedures and look at areas that maybe we just don't have the experience with being in the weeds on the government side. So we kind of leverage her expertise in that. She also helps a lot of our clients implement new GASBs if needed, and kind of fill the void if they're short staffed in the last few years. So she does that as well. Frank North's been with us for about 35 years. He does a lot of project management, scheduling, making sure that deadlines are hit and everything is tracked. So he kind of is a behind the scenes worker, but has some airport experience as well. You all have met Sam. Sam previously has served as the senior running the audit, and now would shift to the manager, so to say, where she would be kind of overseeing the financial statement process a little bit like she did last year. And then Chloe Zaberg will be new to the team. She joined us really a few months ago from a previous firm and has about 4 years of experience. And she really is a superstar. So she would be a very welcome addition for you all and has focused on state and local government for her entire career so far. So this would be the new proposed audit team. I'll kind of breeze over this, a little bit about us. So we focus on state and local government. We've really grown organically a lot the last 10 years. When I started, we had about 16 employees. We have over 150 now and 16 partners in 5 or 6 different offices. So it's been very cool to be a part of and see kind of the organic growth. And we haven't really done it. We've been able to keep the culture that we want. And the group that we have, and we really are striving to kind of be able to do that, which kind of leads into we did a core values revamp about 5 years ago to kind of make these more action items versus just words on a whiteboard. So we really strive to hire people that meet these values and also work with clients that do the same, because it just makes the relationship that much more beneficial. So touching on a couple, obviously pursuing excellence is big to us. We really focus on quality. We are particular about what we bid on and clients we work with to not overcommit and where our quality suffers. Loving what you do. I'm a big believer that your attitude is a choice, and surrounding yourself with people that have an excitement and energy and clients that have the same just makes this job so much more enjoyable and be able to connect with clients in a way that just kind of bring joy every day to their day-to-day lives. Integrity is obviously big in our field as accountants and CPAs. We are trusted with a lot of things, and integrity and people that value integrity and honesty and transparency is really big to us. And then teamwork and forward thinking. There's been a lot of change the last few years with staffing, new GASBs, new federal funding, things of that nature. So working together and kind of being ahead of communication is big on us, and making sure that we're using the right technologies that our clients value. And that matter to them, and not just buying a bunch of softwares and kind of throwing them on the wall and see what sticks. So those are some things that I feel like separate us. So I'll touch over this one. You guys are familiar with our audit timeline. We break it up in 2 phases. We do an interim phase, which is focused on processes, making sure that there are checks and balances in place for how transactions are recorded on the books, how cash receipts are processed, how grant activity is tracked, how cash disbursements are processed, capital asset activity. And then we take that and do a risk assessment. There obviously are procedures we're required to perform every year, but then we add new procedures every year as kind of a, not really a surprise, but to not make it feel like it's stale. You're doing the same thing year after year. So our year-end audit, we're looking at balances, confirming bank accounts, reconciling grant activity, performing the single audit for compliance, and that culminates into your report, which kind of is, here's our overall process that we always have really actually pretty easily followed with you guys. So it's kind of a back and forth 3-draft process. It's very clear as to what's expected when. These dates are preset at the exit conference. So you know when you can expect to draft, when you're expected to turn it around. We know what board date we're trying to hit. And really for all 5 years, we've been able to stay on track and hit the timelines that we previously agreed to with really no issues. So something unique about our financial statements, they're linked to our audit file. So any adjustment that ever is provided and whatnot is actually posted. So they're not hard coded. So it just kind of eliminates the risk for manual error when you're hard coding numbers. So we'd like to make sure that our numbers tie exactly to the airport. So that when you start the next year's audit, your numbers rolling forward are accurate and complete. So kind of the last couple of things here. These are just some keys to a successful audit that we have seen not only with your agency, but others as well. We're big on lead time for requests. We try to give agencies 4 to 6 weeks in advance to let them know what we're requesting and any changes. One thing this year that I think is a benefit to us and all of our clients is we are updating and kind of switching over our audit methodology. What that means for clients is just that there will be some new requests, which I think is a positive thing, and just kind of a different way of looking at some transaction cycles. So it shouldn't really impact anyone's audit, but it will just kind of update it and enhance the procedures in some areas. So it does feel like something new and something different each year. Communication is big for us. We try to have daily updates as far as pending items, what's outstanding, where you're at in the process. Exit conferences, if there are any issues, should be brought up, throughout field work. And the exit conferences really should be a summary of kind of what has already been addressed and discussed. And if anything did come up, we really should come to the same conclusion as to whether it's a finding or whether it's not. And like I mentioned, implementation of new GASBs and kind of holding each other accountable back and forth for timelines, requests, and making sure that we are working together to achieve the same goal is big for us. And we've been able to do that for the last 5 years. And I don't foresee that changing with your agency. So why LSL? Obviously, we've done it for 5 years. And the question comes up is how can you remain independent? Is there too much of a relationship now? And I think in the industry nowadays, there's been so much change the last few years, so many new faces, so many new accounting pronouncements that it really is hard to do the same thing year after year. And it's really been a challenge because the relationships that were here 5 years ago, a lot of them have moved on. So I think changing up the audit team and also having some consistency will be seamless for you all and make you feel like nothing has really changed and you're able to get another 5 years without adding another wrinkle in all the change that's been coming down the pipe. So like I mentioned, I think we're very accessible and communicative. I think you always know where you're at in the process. We worked very well with the district the last 5 years. We strive to hire people that meet those values, that know how to communicate, that are not afraid to talk to clients, and that value and care about what they do. We do annual trainings. We have our governmental accounting update in May. We do it virtually as well and offer it to our clients. Kind of a full day of CPE on what's going on in the industry, some new things that we're seeing. New ways to automate your practices, things of that nature. We mix it up every year. And really, we are just committed to the success of our clients. Our goal is to make every client feel like they're our best client and our only client. And in order to do that, you can't bid on every single client, and you have to pick the ones that you work with and the ones that mutually value the same thing. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
All right, I'll open it up to the Mark, would you like to say anything before?
I would just say that from staff's perspective, I am actually
Thank you. I'll open it up to questions. Director Pick, can I start with you?
Yeah, let me just lead off with a question about CalPERS retirement system. Can you just describe, and I apologize for not knowing this, you've been with us for years, but
Okay.
fairly new. Can you describe your firm's experience with CalPERS retirement system and UAL?
Yeah. So we work with probably about 100 governmental agencies that 90% of are in CalPERS, in the CalPERS system. About half of them are in the cost sharing plan, like you are, and half of them are in the agent multiple plans. So we've been doing it really for the last 10 years with the Guide 68 reports and describing to agencies what that looks like and what it really means in terms of future contributions, how it's reflected in your financials, and really how to understand it. So CalPERS has been a significant part of our audits with 90% of our clients for probably about, I think, 8 years since it came out. And the ones that aren't in CalPERS are part of similar plans, whether it's Sonoma County Employee Retirement System, and MPAD has a separate retirement system, and then down south there's some different retirement systems. So CalPERS is a significant portion of really all of our audits.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll have the same question for each
Thank you.
person. I'm good. Appreciate the comments, Mark.
Director Gagliotti?
No, I had the questions on the CalPERS, and then I was actually going to direct my questions towards staff, and Mark has answered them, so I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Director Miller?
Thank you, Brandon. A couple quick questions. When you typically perform an audit, how much of the time is spent here or how much is done remotely?
Yeah, so it used to be all was there. Now the last 3 years, we've done it pretty much exclusively remotely, which was just been really, I say, mutually requested by the district and by our staff. Now I'd say we probably 75% of our clients are 100% remote. I would say about 20% we do some level of hybrid where we come out for a couple days. I do think adding some new team members to the engagement, I think having them come out for a day or two, especially during interim, to get to know the staff and meet them in person would be beneficial. And then we still have a small number of clients that are going in person, but our model of where we look to hire people has really changed. So I would say lately it's shifted more to being done remotely because we have a history with the airport. So we kind of have the documentation from the last 5 years. So coming out in person, we want to make sure that it serves a purpose. And really, I think it would to meet people in person and kind of get the new team acquainted.
Okay. Normal accounting practices is to switch up the main auditor every few years. Is that something your firm does?
Yeah, so California Government Code for governments requires the engagement partner to switch after 6 years. So to be in compliance with that, basically, you'd be able to have the same partner for 6 years, and then they have to rotate off for at least 1 year. So our practice with clients, I would say most of our clients we usually have for about 10 years. Our practice is after 5 years to just switch the engagement partner entirely and try to keep some consistency on the team. So there is a level of knowledge transfer, but also you do feel like it's a different engagement team and group you're working with. So our practice is usually 5 and 5 to kind of give you a new team after 5 years.
Very good. Question for staff. So things have been going well. Anything that you'd like to see differently that
No, I mean, what Brandon was talking about, so much of our deliverables for the audit involve electronic SharePoint system. It's super efficient. I've also said they're very good at deadlines.
Oh, good. Well, I feel obligated to ask at least one of these questions somebody prepared for me. So
Fire away.
let's go. What risk assessment techniques will your firm use, and what criteria do you use to determine materiality?
Yeah, so the first, to answer your first question, the risk assessment techniques is really based on 2 types of risk. So one is, I'll try to keep it high level, is really an inherent risk, where what is the general risk associated with that transaction cycle. So the areas that are always defaulted to higher risk usually are grant funding and cash on any given year, just because those are the areas that people are really focusing on. But then there's also control risk. So when we do our walkthroughs, You're seeing what the system in place is that the airport has to catch any errors or fraud that were to occur. And that all culminates into what we call a risk assessment. That is essentially taking the inherent risk for that area of the audit, the control risk based on the processes that are in place, and it's giving you kind of an overall risk level for that transaction cycle. The areas being cash, revenue, expenditures, debt, grants, capital assets. Each one has its own risk level. All of them are significant, but then the level of risk based on what the processes are to track the transactions and kind of what's going on in the industry all factor in. That culminates into what the materiality is. So the materiality changes based on the agency. So really you have to choose a benchmark. The benchmark is what would the users of the financial statements pay most attention to. For some agencies, it's assets, right? If you're a pension system, they're looking at the assets. For a government, it's very budget driven. So they're most of the time they're looking at kind of the money going out or the money coming in. It's more focused on revenues and expenditures, not so much assets and liabilities, because that's kind of been inflated when you're adding pensions. So you're choosing a benchmark. And then the benchmark coupled with kind of the overall risk for the audit gives you a materiality. It's called a performance materiality, which is overall for the airport. And then each area based on the risk has kind of a threshold, which helps us determine how many transactions we feel like we should look at and what we're required to do and kind of determine what is material overall to the airport. So it gets very detailed and in the weeds, but hopefully that kind of high level gives you an idea of how we approach that.
Okay, thank you. So I've been on the board for 17 years now, I want to say. And during that time, we've always discussed the possibility of doing an audit of our concessionaires, especially our car rental people. But we've never pulled that trigger because we'd have to pay for it unless we find a certain amount being off. I'm curious, do your firm have any experience conducting those side audits like that? And what's your experience been?
Yeah, we do quite a few of them. We usually set them up as what's called an AUP. It's an agreed upon procedure, which is an attestation engagement. The good thing about an AUP is it kind of allows the district to design the procedures. So essentially, we would kind of work with you on what specifically you want looked at if there's not an audit guide to follow. And then we would agree on how many transactions we're looking at, what you want us to evaluate, and probably recalculate a lot of times. So we do them for agencies that have a couple have like marinas in LA County where they have to pay rent, and the rent is based on kind of revenue. So they want an independent party to do a recalc. We do a lot of for cities that have TOTs, same type of thing where they have to pay transit occupancy tax. So they want us to recalculate that the right amount of TOT tax was remitted to the cities or the counties. So they're set up different ways. A lot of them are set up in AUP engagements, and it kind of depending on geographically where the agency is located and what they're looking for. I would say half of our clients have to have some type of special procedure that is requested that they want a third party to look at.
When you've conducted these types of audit, what's your experience been as far as compliance? And do you have any specific experience dealing with rent-a-car companies?
The rental car, so we've done Monterey Airport, there's like we have to do we check the CFC audit, and we check the same thing for you guys as far as CFCs. It's just theirs is a lot larger. So the rental car companies is not a common one because cities don't have it. And I would say it depends on the agency. Sometimes you get into these audits and they do the books and records are well kept and everything is pretty accurate. But then sometimes when you're working with third parties that don't have the information electronically or not used to getting it audited, sometimes it can get a little bit messy and it's hard to get the information because you're working with people that aren't accustomed to going through the process and are not sure what you're asking. So it's very key on how to ask the question and make sure that they know kind of what the intent is and to get kind of the best results from our experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I have a question on the question.
Certainly, go ahead.
Our concessionaires are obligated to that, correct? I'm guessing that.
We would have to make the decision if we wanted to do an audit, and then they pay it if they were out of compliance. We would pay it if they were in compliance.
There's a percentage that is out, if they're out of compliance by a certain percentage, they're obligated to pay for it. Otherwise, we pay for it. We've not done that. At this point, we don't see any real need for that.
Mhm.
It's always in your pocket if you need to, or if you want to. Every agreement that we have with concessionaires affords you that opportunity.
What do we have in place? I mean, we're talking about systems. What do we have in place that would flag something that we think there's a compliance issue?
We have consistency.
Okay.
We monitor their reports every month.
Okay.
They report every month, and it's detailed enough to know whether things are out of alignment.
Okay.
And so far, we haven't found that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no more questions.
I have one. I'm gonna say I'm a little disappointed we don't have Ryan here since he is the guy.
I
We know
know.
you and
Yeah,
have been very happy with you, but
know.
since he's the person that we're gonna be dealing with if we select the firm again, I just not sure since he's not here. We're about to enter a pretty complex for us bond and financing period, and we're going to need a lot of help. And I'm just looking at the proposal. Do you see working with us that will increase the cost this coming year?
No, before the rates went crazy, I mean, there was a lot of really bond financing going on in the government world. So I would say bond and debt financing it has been pretty common with a lot of our clients the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so you don't see any add-on invoices that
No,
would come our
no.
way because of it?
Typically for bond financing, we get questions on, how to record the journal entries and make sure it's disclosed properly, but we expect that and kind of as an added service as part of our audit.
Okay. Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys taking the time. Yeah, and I'm sorry Ryan wasn't able to be here. He's up in the mountains. If you have follow-up questions he did present at the board, I think last time, so you have met him. And if you have follow-up questions for him, I think he's back next week if you're anything you wanted to talk with him about.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brandon.
All right, thank you all.
And
Good
thank
seeing
you for
guys
the
again.
good work you've done.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure working with you guys, and whatever you guys decide, it was nice to see you guys again. So, all
Thank you.
right, bye everyone.
Let's take 5. We're just so everybody can refresh themselves. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
If you would introduce yourselves, that would be probably a good start, please.
Yeah, we can do that. I think we're still waiting on one more person, but we can go ahead and introduce ourselves. So
Oh, we can
my
wait.
name is Brad
That's fine.
Shelley.
We can
Yeah,
wait.
my name is Brad Shelley. I'm a partner at Crow, and appreciate you all giving us an opportunity to present this morning. And apologize we couldn't be there in person, but glad that you were able to make it work from a technology standpoint to allow us to present via Zoom. Kathy, we were just doing introductions, so if you just want to introduce yourself real quick. You seem to be on mute.
I think you're muted.
All right, how about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Good morning. I'm Kathy Lai. I'm an audit partner with Crow, and I'm pleased to be here with you today.
Joseph.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph Wijaya. I'm the audit senior manager here with Crow LLP. Pleased to be here today.
Thank you.
I'm Tyler Brumley. I'm an audit manager here with Crow. Excited to present to you all this morning.
Terrific. Well, thank you for answering our request, and we're happy to meet all of you. We'll let you go ahead and present, and then we'll probably have some questions.
Okay, great. I will start our slides here. And give me just a second. All right, can you see that now?
No,
No,
No, okay. Not sure what's going on.
Brad, would you like me to go ahead and share the screen? See if I can pull it up.
Maybe give me one more. I'm not sure why it's not. Are you getting
There
the
you go.
presentation, or are you getting the
Now we see it.
presentation or the?
Yep,
We have the notes version
have notes as well.
after being present mode.
It is. That's why I'm not sure what's going on. All right. Joe, you want to try it on yours? I don't know I haven't had this issue with Zoom before. Maybe it's because it's a webinar version.
There you go.
Perfect.
looks
All
like
right,
our
well-
new terminal. Were you talking to our architects?
Trying to look ahead, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for allowing us to present. Again, apologize, we couldn't be there in person. I do have another meeting with the short notice. I had another meeting in person. So, Joseph, you want to go ahead and advance a slide, a couple of pages here, because I think we've already done our introductions. Yeah, one more slide there. All right, so wanted to just give you a brief overview of Crow in case you're not familiar with us. We are a large national firm with over 6,600 professionals in the United States. We have about 42,000 when you can consider our overall Crow global network. We are a top 10 global network firm. We do have office locations throughout the country, 39 in total. We have 6 offices in California. The closest office location to you all, I think, is in San Jose. And we are a firm that specializes by industry. So you'll see we focus on industry specialization more than geographic location. We feel like that specialization is more valuable to our clients versus just where we actually sit. You will see that one of the specializations that we provide is transportation, which includes airports and public transit agencies. I'm actually the audit leader for that national transportation practice. And we do currently audit 11 airports. I think you saw that in the proposal, and we do work with other airports as well from a consulting standpoint. The last thing here on this slide, as Crow was once again named Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For in 2023. So how does that translate to you all on the client side? We believe this is a benefit to our clients as well as our employees, obviously, because as they enjoy working at Crow, they enjoy working in the industry, they're going to be happier, they're going to go that extra mile, and they're going to provide a better overall client experience for our clients. So what we wanted to go through today through our presentation, Joe, if you want to slide ahead one slide, is a few things as we're looking at why you would want to consider Crow. The first thing, deep specialization. I mentioned this earlier. We focus from an industry specialization standpoint. We also wanted to talk through our tailor audit approach. So we make sure that we are addressing risks, and it's really a risk-based approach versus just a standard audit. We want to touch on our client service excellence. We also invest a good deal of time and money into technology and trying to make things more efficient and a better process for our clients. And then also wanted to explain, how we believe that we can provide a smooth transition to a new auditor. We know we've been audited by the same firm for a few years now. We feel like we have a good handle on how to make that a very smooth process. So I'm going to kick us off looking at the deep specialization standpoint. So we're very active at a national and a state level in a variety of ways. Of course, we're involved with ASEPA, the GASB, GFOA. For example, we are involved at the state and local government expert panel. So Tony Boris, who was included in our proposal, he works in our national office. He is currently the chair of the state and local government expert panel. Kathy, who's here today with us, She was previously a member of that panel, and really what this gives us access to is what's coming down the pike. So as we're looking at new accounting standards, new things that impact state and local governments, that gives us insight to those issues. We're also involved at the GAQC level. And this is really important because it allows us the same type of access, early access to single audit issues. So there's some proposed changes out there right now related to uniform guidance and the single audit. By being involved in that, we can not only be aware of those things, but we can also provide some input into those decisions. And more of a state level, Kathy's involved with CSFMO, has also presented Cal CPA. From a government standpoint and an airport standpoint, I'm a member of the AGA. I'm a board member at the local chapter that I'm involved with. And then also with, in regards to airports, we are, as a firm, a member of the ACI North America. I'm actually on the finance and accounting working group and have been involved with them for a while now. I attend the Business of Airports conference, et cetera. So I think, again, that just the goal of all this participation is to be able to help support audit quality and really inform our clients of issues before they emerge. If you advance to the next slide, this is a little bit more specific as we look at from an airport standpoint. So we do have a lot of experience working with airports in a variety of manners. So obviously this RFP is related to the financial statement audit and the compliance audit. We do also have experience working with implementing ERP systems. We do various consulting and advisory work, whether that's internal audit. We've done a variety of bench contract work for different types of audits, whether it's parking, concession, those types of things. But we also do a lot of financial statement audit, which you can see there on the left-hand side, working with airports from large hubs all the way down to non-hubs. So everything in between there, and really enjoy that specialty. Tyler, who's on here today, is almost fully dedicated to working with airports. So he spends the bulk of his time doing audits for airports. Beyond that, we do audit a lot of governmental clients, both state and local governments, special districts. So more than 250 audit clients there from a government standpoint. And then we also work with a lot of other public transportation, port authorities, those types of audits as well. Joe, you want to talk about our tailored audit approach?
Yep. So yeah, here at Crow, we have 4 different audit approaches and 4 different phases. So first and foremost, we have planning. So this is when we gain understanding of your entity's operations, looking at defining our audit objectives, looking at building and compiling audit calendar, which is basically a timeline that goes with the issuance and then going back into entrance conferences. So we'll divide it by months, by weeks and days, just to make sure that we're ensuring timely delivery. So in this phase, we also create what's called audit strategy map, in which we will outline all of the key procedures based on the risk that we have, and also looking at the different types of key counts that we think the district would have. And so this is one of the most important phases of our audit approach. So going into the second phase, which is internal controls, this is where the fun part begins, which is doing a lot of walkthroughs of your processes for the key counts, going over entity level controls, looking at your IT, general and application controls. We know that you have an airport improvement program too, so we'll be doing a lot of walkthroughs with allowable costs, with reporting, matching, reporting, and so on. The third phase is called audit procedures. So this is where the bulk of our hours will be incurred. Again, going back into that audit strategy map, our procedures will be very, very tailored into the district. So it's not just a boilerplate, but we will look at the overall risk and what are some of the key counts that we will be testing. And we'll be happy to be there in person. We'll be happy to do it remotely. We'll follow your footsteps. Last but not least, we have reporting. This is the last phase of our audit. This is when we will be completing our financial statements review, providing audit opinions, and also communicating audit results to your board. And throughout each of these phases, we'll be consulting with our national office team just to make sure that the audit process is being maintained smoothly.
And as Joseph mentioned, we really do take a risk-based audit approach and customize it to fit each of our individual clients. So first, we would, take a look at critical issues and risks that are specific to your financial statements. And so we've reviewed your fiscal 2023 financial statements, and we've identified and listed out some of the audit areas that we would deem to be key for your audit. And for each of these key areas, we would analyze the risk assertions and gain a full understanding of your processes and controls that are in place, and determine whether we would want to test or corroborate those identified controls. The next step would be to determine the best approach to our substantive testing, whether that be through analytical procedures, tests of details, or a combination of both. And these key accounts that are identified include the items that are shown on your screen here, notably your various revenue streams, along with cash, investments, debt, among others. Next, we would look at compliance testing, first at the federal level with uniform guidance. As Joseph mentioned, we're aware of the Airport Improvement Program that has been your major program the last few years. We would test the AIP grant expenditures and the various other compliance requirements of the Airport Improvement Program. And we're also aware of the COVID relief funding that the airport has received under the Airport Improvement Program the past several years, and we're familiar with those testing and reporting requirements as well. The other compliance reporting requirements that we would test are the PFC compliance requirements. And we have a lot of experience in PFC compliance testing and reporting as well. As Brad mentioned, we audit airports from coast to coast, from large hubs to small districts and small non-hub airports. And in terms of the auditing approach for PFCs, we make sure that we understand the compliance requirements of the FAA's PFC audit guide, any changes to those requirements year over year, and then we would test your PFC receipts and disbursements for compliance. And last but not least, you'll see here under the emerging standards side, the GASB has been very active with new standards in recent years. So we've listed out some of the upcoming pronouncements that would be effective for the airport in the next 2 fiscal years, those being fiscal 24 and fiscal 25. So briefly, GASB 99, it has a number of requirements that are effective at various times, but some that would be of particular interest to the airport are related to leases, PPPs, and SPIDAs. GASB 101 deals with compensated absences, and GASB 102 deals with certain risk disclosure requirements. And lastly, you'll see here referenced our implementation guides, which are released annually and are effective for each year. These implementation guides are sometimes overlooked, but we recognize their importance and the impact that they may have on your audit.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll cover the next 2 sections here. As Brad mentioned at the top of our presentation, client service excellence is really something we strive for. And in addition to being your technical review partner, I'm also the California market leader. So this is an area I pay quite a bit of attention to for the firm as well as our practice. And client service excellence is something that we achieve really by 4 main pillars. We align our services along industry and market specializations, and that was the deep specialization that Brad spoke about earlier. Second, we're always adapting our clients to the ever-changing landscape. As he mentioned, we're involved in a lot of different organizations, whether it's the AICPA, CalCPA, different airport organizations, or the GASB. So being at the Watchtower, we're really better able to equip our clients to face the different standards that they are required to implement. Third, and I'll touch upon this a little bit more on the next slide, is our use of technology to really facilitate better communication as well as project management. And then last, delivering this unrivaled experience by really working together with you to achieve the goals of the engagement, which in this case, with respect to the audit, is to issue your audit report on time or even ahead of schedule. One of the key ways that we track our client experience, and the slide here you can see our client surveys. Those are sent out at the conclusion of the engagement, and every single client of ours is actually surveyed. So you can see, 97% of our clients said they would do business with Crow again, and likewise would also recommend Crow. And 96% said they like doing business with Crow. And so this was really out of nearly 900 completed surveys. And at the conclusion, if we're selected as your auditors, you would likewise be surveyed. So all things to keep us with respect to our performance, on top of our game, and to make sure that that you're receiving an unrivaled client experience. On the next slide here, another key driver to our client service excellence, and what we really believe separates us from many other public accounting firms, is our investment in technology. So of course, every firm utilizes technology, but at Crow, we have a dedicated data and data science and product engineering and process optimization teams that work alongside our audit, tax, and consulting teams to really facilitate constant improvement in our changing environment. And so I want to speak a little bit about 3 key audit technologies that are going to be used in your audit. First is Crow Exchange, second is Crow Insight, and then last but not least is Crow Ignite. So first, Crow Exchange is a secure web-based interface that serves as a project management tool for managing the flow of documents and kind of replaces the old PBC lists and the SharePoint sites at many other firms. So unlike a traditional SharePoint or Dropbox sites, this portal separates each item that we've requested into separate requests where attachments and comments and questions can be exchanged between the 2 teams within that specific request item. So it really helps break down, large engagements into very manageable pieces by allowing items to be assigned to individuals with mutually agreed upon set due dates. And so really it's very easy to use. With just a click of a button, Exchange can provide a heat map of items that are completed or outstanding, overdue, or due in the very near future. So we really use this tool as an excellent project management tool. It really helps facilitate both accountability as well as transparency for both the auditors as well as management. And one of the other key benefits is that it's fully integrated into our audit platform. So one last key thing I wanted to note about Exchange is it's really designed to facilitate project management and enhance our communication. Certainly, it doesn't replace face-to-face meetings and discussions or virtual meetings. All of those are still critical to any audit engagement, and certainly something that we would expect to provide as we would transition to a new auditor. As I mentioned, Crow Insight is our internally developed audit work paper platform. So that combines leading edge technology with our functional knowledge and industry expertise. And one of the great benefits of Crow Insight is that it helps facilitate an effective audit process and allows us to modify our audit approach based on the risks of your specific organization. And then last but not least, I mentioned Crow Ignite. So that is our data analytics platform. So that's fueled by custom and third-party data connectors. And it really enables us on a more continuous audit approach and allows us to gain visibility into different trends or variances or even anomalies that may change the risk level with respect to different areas of your audit that might result into recommendations on our side. So just to put this into practical use, an area that where we often use it is in our testing of journal entries. So oftentimes there are hundreds, it could be even thousands of journal entries that could be posted in a particular year. And so by utilizing Crow Ignite, it really allows us to view those transactions through different filters to help identify any possible areas for improvement or risks.
Thanks, Kathy. So yeah, the last thing I want to touch on, and we'll close up here with this slide is, we know you've been audited by the same firm for a number of years now, and you've probably, grown accustomed to doing things a certain way and the way they handle things. And really, this is an opportunity for you to rethink, how you perceive your internal financial management, the audit and business partner relationships, and start new with a new firm, and really one that specializes in airports. We have transitioned a lot of clients in the past. We've listed some of the airports and transportation related agencies on the West Coast that we've transitioned over the past few years. And really just wanted to leave you with this quote that's listed here on the right hand side of the screen. I won't read the entire thing, but a couple of things that stick out is that over the past 12 years, Crow is the best CPA firm we've hired. And if you want a credible and efficient audit, I strongly recommend Crow. So that's just from one of our clients, and I think again speaks strongly to our ability to make that transition from a previous auditor to a new auditor. So again, thank you for your time, and that concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Good, thank you. I'll start with you, Director Miller.
Thank you for your presentation. It was impressive. Would we be handled out of your Costa Mesa office?
Yeah, so it's a combination. As I mentioned, we don't align geographically. So we do, Joseph and Kathy are both out of Costa Mesa. Myself and Tyler are actually out of Indianapolis, Indiana. So we would work together in that. We may utilize some staffing from our San Jose or San Francisco offices as well. It's really kind of a combination team effort, and that's the way we handle all of our audits.
It sounds like, as it is with our current firm, most of the auditing is occurring remotely. Do you envision yourself spending any time on premise here at the airport?
Yeah, we're certainly open to that. It really depends. We leave that up to the client. You know, what we've found since COVID is that a lot of our clients seem to like it better when we're not on site. I don't know if that says about the audit profession, but they have seemed to enjoy that, but we're open to it. I mean, we do have several clients though that we come on site either for field work. Certainly we're able to come out for meetings, those types of things. So we're open to either or.
Yeah, I think what's most important is a smooth transition. We're committed to that. So really we'll follow, your lead with respect to, how often you'd like to meet with us in person, and likewise, but in the first year, I assume that there would be.
So I know there's, or at least I found out today, there's actually statutorial requirements to change the assigned auditor every so many years. What's your firm's philosophy? How often do you do that? How often could we see working with one particular person at your, or the same group?
Yeah, so we would typically follow the statutory requirements. So in this case, I think for California, you can have the same partner signing for 6 years, and then we would rotate after that. We are open to other things though. If you wanted to rotate more frequently, we could certainly do that. We obviously would not go beyond the 6 years because we're going to stay within the requirements though.
Yeah, and just to be clear, there is not a statutory California government requirement to rotate audit firms. You are required to rotate audit partners within the firm within 6 years. So
that's what I meant to say.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no problem. Yeah. So we could certainly forge a longer term relationship than that.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask is how much experience you have working with FAA and airports, but that seems kind of like a stupid question. You work with a lot of airports.
Well, not only, the listing that Brad showed, but also personal experience that we bring from our experiences with other firms. So for instance, I had audited LAX as well as Burbank and City of Long Beach. So the Long Beach Airport, as well as John Wayne Airport, and a variety of others, Fresno Airport. So we bring a complement of our
those
personal
airports
experience as well as-
listed up there.
Right.
Are you currently auditing those airports? I didn't see Long Beach or John Wayne up there.
I was the previous audit partner with a former firm on John Wayne and Long Beach. We just won the City of Long Beach, so I'll be resuming the audit partner role on Long Beach Airport for this fiscal year.
Very good.
Yeah, sorry, to avoid any confusion there. What was listed on the screen was just clients of Crow. Kathy has worked with some other airports as well in her past life.
How long have you been with Crow, Kathy?
Gosh, I'm going on my 8th year now. I joined the firm back in 2016, and prior to that, I led the assurance practice for MGO, which is a regional firm here in California, and then 12 years with KPMG as well.
What risk assessment techniques will your firm use, and what criteria do you use to determine materiality?
Yeah, so that's probably a loaded question. There's a lot of things that we look at.
Well, I didn't write it, but they gave it to me.
Not my fault.
There's
And
a
he
lot
may or
of
may not
risk.
understand the answer.
I feel
Fair.
obligated to ask it though, so.
Fair. So there's a lot of factors that we would look at from a risk standpoint. Obviously, we're going to look at, what's been happening over the course of the past year, potentially things that you have going on in the future. We're going to, make inquiries to a number of people. We inquire to the board. We inquire to various management. Not sure if you have an internal audit function, we would inquire to them. So we would make a lot of inquiries to understand kind of what's going on there, what risk maybe you all have identified. We're going to do our own risk analysis based off of, things that we've looked at. We'll build on that each year as we go along. And then from there, materiality is something that we usually keep that close to the vest. We don't want to provide management with any kind of insight on the dollar amount so they can try to, cheat the audit or defeat the audit. But we'll typically look at a combination of your assets and your revenues and expenses and do some type of percentage from there. So that may range from 1 to 5% depending on some of the risks.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt here, but I just wanted to add also the accounting standards have shifted as well with respect to risk assessment. There's SAS 145 that was just recently issued, and our firm was asked to present for on behalf of CalCPA to all of the government auditors that are attending the government conference. And that risk assessment standard really, helps improve the auditor's ability to really identify different risks throughout the audit as opposed to at a point in time.
Okay, one last question. So I've been on the board about 17 years, and I don't think, well, I know during that time, we've never audited any of our concessions, specifically rent-a-car. I'm just curious what experience you've had. I assume you've audited concessionaires at these airports. And I'm curious what, it's not like I think our rent-a-cars are intentionally concealing assets from us, but maybe they have a policy that underreports something. What's been your experience doing those concessionaire audits?
Yeah, we have done some of those. I would say oftentimes we have a separate team that does a lot of that work. We focus more on the financial statement audit. I have been involved in those to some degree in the past. I know we've done, as I mentioned, some parking audits. We've also done rental car company audits as well. I don't think we have done any for the list that was there from a financial statement client. Typically, they have us do just the financial statement audit, and they maybe have their internal audit do the rental car audits, or they will hire someone else out to do that like we have done. But we have done that for, I know, Indianapolis audit. We've done some audits for them like that and some others. So it's a different process because you're looking at different scope, we would have to lay out exactly what you want to look at. How many do we want to look at? How many rental car contracts do we want to look? Are we following, performance audit standards, those types of questions. So it's definitely something we have experience with, but there's probably more to go into than what we have time to talk about today.
What's been your experience of some of those?
As far as the results of them?
Yes, compliance.
On the couple that I've been involved with, we haven't run into any major issues. There's some hiccups along the way in trying to tie out some of the data, but I think the end result, we didn't have any major findings that came out of it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Director Gagliardi.
Yeah, I'm going to direct my question to you, Mark, just because I don't have the perspective. I'm new this year. On the approach slide for Pro, there was very specific tasks in their approach. Do you see any differences or tasks unique or tasks, I guess, unique from what's covered in our existing our existing service provider?
I did not. No,
Okay.
That's it. Presented to me as very logical and very standard.
Okay. All right. That was my thing. That was my only question. And again, it was just because I don't have any perspective. I have no way really to compare and contrast. Thank you.
Can I follow up on that question?
Yeah.
How does that compare to what we're currently doing? Do you see anything different there?
I do not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Director Pick?
Thank you, Brad and team. Great presentation. So my question is about CalPERS and UAL. Can you elaborate a little bit on your firm's experience or team's experience on handling agencies' CalPERS and UAL pieces of the audits?
Just from the standpoint of your involvement as the airport's involvement or participation in those plans?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, so we
specifically to GASB 68 and the required disclosures.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that last.
Oh, I'm sorry. Specifically to GASB 68 and the required disclosures and
Okay,
treatment
yeah.
of the US
Yep.
of the UAL on the financial statements.
Yeah, so we have a lot of experience working with those plans. Obviously, we work with a lot of government clients in California, and so we have audited those, I couldn't give you a number off the top of my head, but we have several clients who participate in CalPERS, and we have helped, we were involved in the implementation of GASB 68 for some of those clients. In others where maybe we've taken on the audit since then, we've been obviously testing the disclosures, doing the required testing and the balances. So very familiar with those plans, and I wouldn't anticipate any issues there. I think as a firm, we also have a lot of benefit plan experience. So it's kind of a whole nother industry specialization that we do, as we talked about that. So we audit a lot of large plans, including CalSTRS. So separate the teacher's employment plan. We actually audit the CalSTRS plan as a whole. So as a firm, we have experience with benefit plans. We could bring in specialists if we needed to, but I feel pretty comfortable we can test the GASB 68 balances and disclosures.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add is, as we mentioned before, our participation on that very select 15-member AICPA state and local government expert panel. Again, only 15 members out of 400,000 plus CPAs. I was on the panel when GASB 67, 68, and then later on with OPEB 74 and 75 came out. And one of the responsibilities of that panel was to help articulate the audit guide and write new chapters within the AICPA government audit guide. And so we have a lot of experience in writing those procedures and then likewise helping our clients implement them.
Terrific. Thank you both. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. So with the UAL, when you work on CalSTRS, do you just come with lots of tissues? Just a joke.
It's a large plan.
I saw two of you are Ball State. I'm from South Bend. So
Oh, really?
Actually toured your art museum last year, and it's phenomenal on that little campus. You've got a jewel.
Yeah.
So,
Small world. It's a small world.
yeah. Couple things. I see you've got the CROW process. And so is that so specialized that it would be hard for our staff to transition into, or that if we then transitioned out of, or is it pretty seamless with what other agencies have?
No, I think what is good about that, I think I don't know if you're talking on the exchange of information or if you're talking about the overall audit process, but I'll kind of touch on both. So
All the above.
yeah, that's what I figured. So from an audit approach standpoint, where I think maybe we differ a little bit is in that risk-based approach. And so again, I think someone asked the question, are those areas different than what your current firm is doing? Probably not. I mean, most of those areas are going to be the same. I think what we look at is just, does that vary? Are there other risks out there? And that's what we listed out there was based on our understanding right now without being able to have conversations with you all. There may not be any other areas, or maybe there is, depending on our, once we are able to get more information and do additional analysis. From the standpoint of the overall audit, though, I don't think it's any more challenging. I'm not going to say we won't have any different questions than what the prior or your current firm has. Certainly that's a possibility, and we may ask for some different information. That is sometimes the case. I think from the exchange of information, though, I think utilizing Crow Exchange is a pretty easy process. That's usually where we get some concerns from when we're bringing on a new client as well. We know what we've provided our auditor in the past, and how do we work with this new system, and we'll work with you on that. What we typically will do is we'll start with, what did you provide the auditor in the past? We'll utilize that as a starting point. And again, maybe we don't need to ask for any additional information. Maybe that is everything. In instances where there is new requests, we'll try to make those as easy as possible. And we want to work with you on getting the information that you're already providing or that you're already preparing. So, if you're already doing reconciliations, you're creating documents, we want to try to use those first. If that isn't enough, or we think we need more information, sure, we'll ask for more, but we want to start with the information you're already preparing. We don't want to have you recreate the wheel just so that it matches some formatting for us. And the other thing I'll add to that, to the exchange of information, because we didn't really have time to go into it in detail, and we'd be certainly happy to go through a demo with you all if you wanted to at some point. But one of the key and features in there that I think is our clients often find is helpful is it's gonna have a listing, and we didn't even show a screenshot there, but it's gonna have a listing of all your requests, who they're assigned to. And then once you click on each of those, you're just going to drag and drop or click on a button to load the document, just like you would if you're attaching a document to an email. So it's really easy to use. Within there, though, once you get to the second year, it's going to have that prior year information that you submitted already loaded in there. So if you have any turnover on your side, or if you don't remember what you provided last year, it's already going to be in there from the prior year, so that you're able to easily see what you submitted and go and find the same document for the current year. So hopefully
Okay,
that answers your question.
No, that answers it. I dealt with a lot of auditors in my professional life, and I know that it sometimes is beauty in the eye of the beholder. And so I'm sensitive to the staff time that it takes to do a transition, and how easy a transition is, because we've got a lot on our plates this year.
Totally
on their
understand.
plates.
If really quickly, we had several clients who have been, nervous about that, I'll call it. And maybe they've had their own system. LA Metro is one that I can think of that stands out very much. The first year they said, no, we don't want to use your system. We already have our own system. It works fine. We said, okay, that's fine. We'll go that route. Then we got to the second year and we said, you sure you want to maybe try this? They reluctantly agreed. And then the result was they liked our system even better than what they were doing before. And we were actually able to issue the report even earlier than they had ever issued the report. So that's just one example of firsthand evidence of, I understand that anytime there's change, that creates trepidation, but it has really been a smooth process for our clients.
Two things I was curious about. One was the implementation guides that I understand you're all involved locally and nationally in organizations and associations that stay on the cusp of what's coming. But how do you then notify your clients that this pertains to you? Is it an email and then a chat, or is it just you copy what comes out and send it to them?
Sure, that can vary. Depends on the pronouncement, depends on what the change is. If it's a GASB implementation guide and it's, something pretty minor, that might be an email, or we might bring that up during a planning call or a year-end wrap-up call or something like that, a status call. the main thing with the new standards is we're going to have those communications early on. We want to make sure that you're aware of what's coming up. That's why we listed those in today's presentation. Here's things that are coming up for the next year's audit, or in 2 years of audits. In some of those cases, it may be FY25 before it's applicable. We want to be having those conversations early on, making sure that you understand what the GASB is requiring. We'll start having some discussions around how that may impact you. Obviously, you'll have to do some research on your side as well to understand, if it's something like GASB 87, there was a lot of work done by your staff, I assume. But we want to be working alongside you to help in that implementation process and answer questions as you go through.
Yeah, and as a firm, we also do firm-wide training. So we do provide free CPE to not only your team, but really anyone that would like to join. And the more complicated the standard that we foresee, the more extensive the training we offer. So for instance, the suite of pension standards that you mentioned, there were several parts of webinars that took over multiple courses. Similarly, with the uniform guidance and federal grants, when that landscape changed, which certainly impacts your airport as well, we did a myriad of trainings. And it's not just the auditors. We often call upon our consulting group as well, and we team with them because they're helping individuals like you implement standards, from a management perspective, and then we offer the audit perspective as well. So lots of opportunities for learning, both in person and then likewise with national webinars and free CPE to your team.
Yeah, and one last thing I just wanted to add there. It depends on the complexity of the GASB implementation. So you have implemented GASB 87 already, but it's not a one and done statement. So it's a continuing implementation as years go by. Same thing with GASB 84 fiduciary activities, and 96 with the subscription-based IT arrangements, and with GASB 94 with all the PPPs as well. So we've had instances in which, for those that are more complicated, we'll provide templates to the clients ahead of time. These templates are just derived from Appendix C of the GASBs. So these are not proprietary, but by any means is publicly available. But our clients have enjoyed using the templates and making sure that it has all of the key components and elements that they needed to implement the GASBs.
Okay. And I have one last question. For us, we are about to enter a very complex financing, bonding arrangement, and we're not sure quite how it's going to look at, but we are in the process of about $170 million remodel, revitalization, and safety program. So in your billing and in your charges, do you foresee that would increase the cost, or is that just part of your overall, if we need you for consultation to work with the bond people and the financial advisors?
Yeah, I mean, there is, we build in an expected level of client assistance, right? We want to be available for calls, emails, communications throughout as questions come up, as projects come up. Certainly if it rolls into something more significant where you're going to need, hours and hours of expertise, if you're going to need additional work or services from us, that's a point where we would probably talk about, additional fees. I think just from a audit standpoint, though, I wouldn't anticipate there being changes there from, again, we'll have to test the debt. We're going to have to test new capital asset additions. Those things are already built in. That's part of the audit process. And the same from, like I said, from discussions, we're willing and happy to have those discussions throughout the process. So it really kind of just depends on what you need from us.
We all know this little thing is time and money. So, we're familiar with that, but we don't want any surprises. So anyway.
No, we try not to have any surprises there. We want to be able to, if we start venturing down a path of this looks like it's going to take more time and we think we need to bill you for that, we'll have those discussions. But that's not our plan. Our plan is not to nickel and dime everything out of you for every phone call that you have with us. That's not how we operate.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I know we're a little behind schedule for the next team, but we appreciate it. And nice meeting all of you virtually, and maybe we'll meet you in person.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, appreciate it and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Drop that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We waiting for anyone else?
No, this is it today.
Okay.
Chair Leffel?
Sorry, I turned off for a second. Thank you for answering our request, and we're very pleased to entertain what you've got to offer. So if you would like to introduce yourselves and give us your presentation, that would be great.
Great. Well, I'll go first. Thanks again for having us this morning. My name is Ashley Austin. I am a partner in our Portland location, focusing primarily on state and local governments, including airports. I've been with the firm since 2005, and I'll hand it over to Olga.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning. It's great to be here with you today. Thank you for the invitation to present our proposal to you today. My name is Olga Darlington. I'm a partner with Moss Adams in our government practice. I have been in public accounting my entire career. So for over 25 years, I've been focusing on serving clients in the public sector and the government sector, working with clients and airports, seaports, transits, and other types of entities all over the West Coast. So for the last probably 10 years or so, I have focused specifically on working with airports and seaports clients. So there's very specific issues that have come up with the airports. So wanted to deepen my knowledge of the services that the airports and issues that the airports face. So that has been my practice.
Terrific.
All right. Well, we have a short presentation that we'd like to go through quickly. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Maybe a thumbs up or an audible if you can see that.
I could see that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Olga. Okay.
Yes, we can
see. Great, thank you. We'll go ahead and just highlight a few things that were included in our proposal that we think are important to you as you're making your decision for your next auditor. So we've already introduced ourselves, but the one person that is on this screen that is not here today, her name is Lori Tish. She is the National Government Services Practice Leader. She's a partner in our Seattle location, and she's been with the firm for many, many years now, and she's a great technical resource. But what you don't see here is all the other team members that we have, both in California as well as throughout the firm, that focus on airports like yourselves and other government entities as well. And so we have a very deep bench of individuals that are capable of being on your engagement. And but as proposed, I would be your proposed engagement reviewer, lead partner, and Olga would be the concurring partner. And for those that aren't familiar with those terms, engagement reviewer is responsible for supervising the audit, being the lead, making all the necessary decisions and supervising the team. And Olga would not necessarily have a relationship with you as the client, but she would pick up things like your financial statements, judgments that we make in our file, things like that. We refer to them more as a cold reviewer. So I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. You know, what we bring from Moss Adams' perspective is just, you know, 3 specific areas as highlighted on this slide. And I'm going to go through the relationship building and trust aspect of this particular slide. You know, as the engagement reviewer, my responsibility is to oversee the team, and that includes really building a relationship with you as the client, meeting with you, not just once per year. You'll see me, during field work, you'll see me at board presentations. I'm really interested in spending time with you as my client and learning more about your business and your operations, already knowing that I'm fully aware of the business of airports, but just knowing the risks and variations that happen at your particular airport. As I mentioned, I will be in the field at your specific site with the team, answering questions, reviewing work papers, and also meeting with you and asking questions and things like that. Hopefully building a relationship and creating that opportunity when I leave for you to be able to pick up the phone and have trust in that, you can call and ask questions as you need. As different standards come down the pipeline, you don't have any concern about calling me and asking questions. So that is kind of my overall standpoint from being the engagement partner. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Olga to talk about the other two items.
One thing we wanted to highlight is our experience in serving airports. We have a long history of working with airports, both large hub and small hub, as well as general aviation airports all across the West Coast. We do find that the issues, although similar, are a little bit, the sensitivity to those issues is a little bit different between the small hub airports and the large hub airports. So we certainly treat every client as their own special client, but some of the issues that all airports face are similar in a way that we address them and can help you face those as well. Because we have served airports for a long time, we have developed a team, an engagement team that really is focused on the industry group. That makes it easier when we transition to a new client or to a new airport client for your management team, your accounting team to work with our team, where you don't have to really explain to us the airline agreements or lease agreements or how do the landing fees collection works or concessionary agreements works. We know all of those things. Our staff knows all of those things. So we really focus our questions on the risks that we identify for the specific audit.
We also wanted to highlight a little bit about Moss Adams, just in case you're unfamiliar with our firm. We're headquartered on the West Coast in Seattle. We have over 30 locations up and down the West Coast and into the central part of the country. And we've been in business for over 110 years. What isn't shown on this slide is I think you are making a decision based on a variety of firms. And what I wanted to highlight is just the benefits of going with Moss Adams as your auditor. We are a larger regional firm, and I think historically you've gone with a local firm. And of course, those local firms are going to have a strong local presence. They're going to be very responsive, and they're going to have competitive fees. And if you have a larger, maybe national firm, they're going to have great technical depth. They're going to have a deep bench strength, and they're going to be scalable. They're going to be scalable to, you're potentially looking at new bond financing. They're going to be scalable into any complex areas that you go into as an airport. I think with Moss Adams, you're going to get all of those things plus more. We have a strong local presence in California. We have great technical depth and deep bench strength. We have a multitude of partners that focus in this space, and a great engagement team members that also focus on airports, as Olga mentioned. We're very responsive. If you email us, call us, we're going to respond to those emails and calls within 24 hours. We have competitive fees. As I mentioned, we're scalable. We're going to be able to move with you as you become more complex. If you have complex construction projects, complex bond financing, those are the types of things that we are able to tackle as an engagement team now. So that really highlights kind of the difference between a small local firm and a national firm. And we think that at Moss Adams, you get the best of both.
Another area we wanted to highlight is our presence in the Northern California region. We have 9 different locations, actual office locations, some of those within a close driving proximity to the airport. So we still place a lot of value on face-to-face relationship with our clients. So we're available for face-to-face meetings, not only during the board meetings, but of course, during our field work and any other issues that come up throughout the year. We're happy to meet with the management team or the board members as well. So within those locations, we have government specialists, specialist audits that will be part of the engagement team that will be working on the airport engagement. So what that allows us to do is really build that close relationship with management and the board throughout the year or throughout the term of our agreement. And our focus, although we are focused on executing an excellent audit, we really focusing on becoming more of advisors to the management team as well as the board. Once again, as the significant issues come up, whether it's new accounting standards or new grant funds that are coming down the pike or infrastructure funding or any other projects that the airport undertakes.
Another area that we wanted to highlight that was included in our proposal is just our overall government services and airport experience, which I think we've talked a little bit about already. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up here is just, we are very comfortable performing single audits, and we are very comfortable with the federal programs that the airport receives federal funds through. We know by looking at your 2023 financial statements that the single audit was done over the airport improvement program. We audit that program a significant amount at our various other airport clients. You also had the Transportation Security Administration grant on your CFA last year, so very familiar with that program as well. Have a lot of experience auditing that program, so you won't be getting us up to speed. We also have quite a bit of experience auditing the Passenger Facility Charges program and the Customer Facility Charge program. And we have a lot of experience in our consulting practice with things like construction audits, examination projects, et cetera. So things like that are really important to you so that you're not teaching your auditor how to audit you. We already have all those skills necessary to perform the audit.
And I mentioned the large airport practice that we have at Moss Adams. This is just a few client names that we serve. You will notice that for many of our clients, of course, we perform audits, but we also have other services available to the airport. So for some clients where we don't perform the audits, we do consulting engagements. We perform internal audit services. For some airports, we're a full-on internal auditor who helps them develop their internal audit plan and work through some of those projects. And sometimes it's more project-based. On the consulting and special projects, as Ashley mentioned, construction audit practice has been very busy in auditing different construction projects throughout different entities as they're undertaking significant improvements at the airports. IT assessments and cybersecurity practice has been very busy, making sure that the systems are safe and secure, especially at the airports, as that has been a big and significant risk to the airports. So in addition to just the standard audit, which we will execute very efficiently, there is a range of services that we can bring to the table when and if the airport needs those additional expertise.
The other area that we wanted to highlight is just our single audit experience and expertise. We've been at the table for single audit since the Single Audit Act was issued back in '97. And so we have a lot of experience with single audit and federal fund audits. As I mentioned, we have experience with the programs which the airport receives federal funding for. I think the thing that's important to highlight here is at our firm, we have a special technical review called a single audit technical review. It simulates a desk review. And that comes on top of both what would be mine and then Olga's review. And they're simulating the desk review just to make sure that your audit's completed with, appropriate quality. And you can be sure that the audit is performed, efficiently, but also accurately. So that gives you another level of peace of mind, hopefully. And we have quite a few individuals, a lot of individuals that have that single audit expertise, and all of those people are generally in our government services practice.
Changing auditors is never easy. There's always bumps in the road when the new auditors come in, and from one standpoint, it's a really good idea to have a new set of eyes kind of looking and at transactions and looking at the financials. At the same time, we are very interested in making that transition very, very smoothly for our new clients. We want to welcome and make sure it's a good experience. So the two things that we think are very important in that process are communication and planning. So our plan is to really have discussions with both the audit committee or the board members, as well as the management team, on coming up with the timeline for the audit and all of the services that come as part of that, or all of the milestones, I should say, that come as part of that. Have face-to-face meetings, agree on the deadlines and the timelines and the deliverables, and then try to work on executing that plan. And as things come up, because things are always come up, we work together collaboratively on tailoring that audit plan or timing plan to make sure that there's no surprises at the end of the audit. We will be proactive in providing information requests to the management team. We will work with the information that management already has, schedules that management has provided to the previous auditors. We're not going to ask for anything specifically designed for our audit process. It's really going to be, the first year in particular, us learning more about the processes at the airport and trying to work with the information that the management historically used in working in their audits, try to reduce that burden of changing the auditors. For that, we have many different tools for information sharing and secure information sharing. So we will share that information with management team and try to really make that transition smooth.
So Moss Adams does use a customized risk-based audit approach. So in looking at this slide, that outlines our overall audit process. What we wanted to highlight here is the areas in which we think would be the significant risk areas of the airport, just by taking a look at your financial statements from 2023. It looks like you have a big capital improvement program going right now. And so that would be a large focus area, both looking at the internal controls of purchases of those capital assets. Also, how do you close out those projects at the end of the project? How are they put into service? We'll look at depreciation, those types of things, but that's a significant risk area. I think it's the biggest asset on the airport statement of net position. Of course, we'll also look at other large items. Cash and investments are your second largest account balance, so we will spend some time focusing on those areas. Long-term debt, although the airport doesn't have a significant amount of long-term debt currently, we understand that you are thinking about going forward with a bond program. So that would be a significant risk, and one that we would spend a significant amount of time auditing. And then, of course, your revenue agreements with the airlines, your lease agreements, those are areas of focus as well. They're an inherent audit risk and a significant risk, where we spend quite a bit of time just understanding those agreements, understanding how they're recognized as revenue, looking at the controls, and testing those particular arrangements as well. Other areas that aren't necessarily significant risks, but are areas that popped out that are larger balances, are your pension and OPEB liabilities. Of course, those arose with GASB 68 and 75. They've been on the balance sheet now for quite a few years. They're not significantly difficult to audit, but they have significant risks and assumptions included in those balances that we do look at every single year.
One thing we wanted to share is that how we share information and our knowledge with our clients. We have an extensive database of articles and alerts that we issue every time a new standard surfaces on the horizon or new communication comes from the board or from the GASB with respect to upcoming GASBs that they're, or the standards that they're hoping to issue. So we share that, all of that knowledge with our clients through webcasts and news alerts and articles. And every summer, for now, I think it's in our 5th year, we hold a series of webcasts specific to government entities, and past topics included cybersecurity, internal audits, construction audits, just good internal controls, and all of those topics that would be interesting for your management team, potentially because it often comes with a free CPE, continuing professional credits for those that are CPAs. So it's a good information for our clients to just kind of keeping them apprised of what's happening in the profession and how to help prepare for some of those upcoming standards. Some of the other things that we didn't mention earlier is our involvement with at the national level. I specifically sit on the accounting and financing group with Airports Council International. So just really bringing that knowledge of accounting and financial reporting to the airport CFOs, controllers, and directors of finance, really just kind of informing them about what's happening in the accounting profession, how that could impact their reporting or even accounting. We do, as a firm, participate in Government Accountability Quality Center. Once again, just impacting the decision-making and informing the decision makers about how some of the standards it would impact the clients. We are involved with AICPA and the Single Audit Standards Board. So all of those different entities we have a representation on. And once again, sharing that information with our clients and also advocating on behalf of our clients with those regulators.
So I think just in closing, by choosing Moss Adams, you'll get the benefits of a local firm, but also a national firm. We're of course going to be meeting with you regularly, not just your once-a-year service provider. We strive to be, efficient in the audit process, but also your advisor, providing additional information on standards before they're needing to be implemented, meeting with you regularly, and just helping you to run the best airport that you can do, while also receiving an efficient audit. And at this point, I'll go ahead and stop sharing and ask what kind of questions you have.
Terrific. Thank you. Director Pick, can I start with you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation. Does your firm have experience auditing entities that participate in the CalPERS retirement system?
Yes, we do. We have a number of clients throughout California, including airports and transit agencies, electric utilities, water utilities that all participate in CalPERS.
Terrific. Thank you.
Sure. Yep. I don't have any questions. So thank you.
Director Miller.
I have a few questions. Thank you for your presentation. Remote versus in-person, what do you see? From what I gather from your presentation, you'd like to have an in-person presence. How much of the audit time do you see it would be in person as opposed to remote?
I think that's really dependent on the client desire. I think that there's some value in organic conversations that don't necessarily happen when you're auditing a client remotely, but we certainly have all of the capabilities to perform our audit remotely. The best of both worlds is really a hybrid approach, doing some work in person where we're able to meet with you and your management team, but also performing some work remotely as well. I think that's kind of the best approach, but also it really depends on just the client's desires, management's desires, what they have space for, what their capabilities are in terms of providing documentation. We have a secure client portal that's very easy to use, that you can, drag and drop documents very easily into something that is secured document that can provide that information to us on a remote basis. But what I'm trying to articulate is that it's really client dependent. We're happy to be there in person the whole time, but we're also happy to conduct the audit remotely.
Okay. And what offices are you, Ashley, and you, Olga, working out of right now?
I'm out of the Portland office location and Olga is out of the Everett, Washington location.
Out of where? I'm sorry?
In Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
I do like to say that I support all of my airport clients by traveling to my airport clients and using their airports and their facilities. So I'm on the road quite a bit because my client base is very, very geographically diverse throughout the West Coast. But I do sit in Seattle, Washington.
Well, I notice on your presentation on the packet we got, you have a Salinas address. What office is that?
That office is in California.
Yes,
but I don't
Salinas,
know.
California. They're about
17 miles.
17 miles. Thank you. Was trying to do the math in my head.
Yes, yes.
This is why I don't do the audits. But tell us about that office. Or is that just a storefront for you, or do you actually have auditors that are working closely on this project there?
No, in each one of the offices we listed, it's a physical location where we have a team present. It may be a smaller office than some of our larger offices. And what some of those smaller offices are focused on serving clients that are in that geography. So with that particular office, we do have a few auditors there. That I don't know that any of them specialize specifically in governments or airports, but we do have some people at that office.
Thank you. So what airports are you currently auditing? I know, but right now, what airports are you currently doing?
Personally, are you asking for each of us to list the airports that we personally work on?
Yeah, at the current time.
Yeah, so currently I personally sign audit opinions for the Port of Portland, which includes Portland International Airport, Spokane International Airport, Missoula, Montana Airport, and then I concur on the Port of Seattle, which includes the Seattle International Airport. Olga, you go ahead.
And I lead our audits for the CTAC, so Seattle Tacoma International Airport, Los Angeles International Airport, Denver International Airport. I think as a team, we're all working on all of the airports in just different capacities. Sometimes it's a lead client service partner, sometimes it's a quality control partner, and sometimes it's a technical reviewer. So we're all knowledgeable of all those airports, but it's just different who takes the lead on serving the client.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned LAX, because the prior firm that we talked with, they said they're auditing LAX. I'm curious, do they have multiple auditors or auditing
So
firms?
we serve as a financial auditor. LAX, as many other entities, engage a number of consultants to perform different types of audits. So we actually sign their audit opinion that's included in their annual comprehensive financial report. I am actually not sure what project the previous auditor has done. I know they have a firm that helps with IT implementation, some construction audits, and some other projects, as well as the concession audits and the contractor audits. So there are a number of firms that may be involved with each airports, but we perform their financial statement audit.
Well, the two of you have a lot of experience, obviously. I know, as I was told today, every 6 years under California law, you have to change auditing partners.
Hmm.
What's your firm's philosophy on that? How often do you change your partners that would overlook our airport?
We typically operate on the assumption that we do not change unless required, or if the client asks for a change. As I mentioned before, and as Olga has alluded to, we have a very deep bench of engagement partners that serve airports like yourselves. So if required, we would change, but if not, then it's based on client preference at that point. I think there is benefit to changing auditors every once in a while, especially in that lead role, but also the way in which we do it. If a client is going out to bid and they're wanting to have a fresh set of eyes, sometimes we'll switch out the quality control partner. That does give a fresh set of eyes to the client's financial statements and key areas in our file that we're making judgments and estimates as well. I don't know, Olga, if you want to add anything to that.
And you are correct. California does have a requirement for the every 6-year rotation. We as a firm have interpreted that as a partner rotation as opposed to firm rotation. So I, for example, have changed as a lead client service partner on some of my clients in California for that reason, just to meet that requirement. The good news is there's more than one partner focusing on airports in our firm. It's not actually just Ashley and I. There's more partners that serve airports. So we do have that bandwidth to change a partner. And the way we would address it was once again just a transition plan. So that partner would get involved with the airport, at least in some of the meetings and some of the audits, way before that requirement fully has to become at the 6-year mark. So,
Okay, thank you. This is one of the prepared questions that I've been asking everybody. What risk assessment techniques will your firm use, and what criteria do you use to determine materiality?
I think we highlighted a little bit of this in our presentation, but we do take a risk-based audit approach. So we, in conversations with management, as we're getting to know you, try to identify those significant risk areas where we need to spend more time because there's a management estimate involved, there's a sensitive assumption that's being used, something of that nature. In terms of determining materiality, we, similar to all the other firms that you've interviewed, we take a quantitative, we look at total assets, total liabilities, total net position, total revenues, and take a percentage of that and adjust it depending on qualitative factors. For example, if you had a debt covenant that you were close to missing, that would be evaluated in that calculation. And then that's, our overall assessment of materiality. We, of course, drive that down to test the significant risk areas and determine the nature, timing, and extent of our audit procedures.
And I want to highlight with the risk assessments, some areas just are specific to the industry. So for our airports, airline agreements are always higher risk, or our understanding of those, leasing agreements, concession agreements. So the revenues are always going to be a little bit of a higher risk. Now, other factors will be just dependent on what happened, what significant transactions happened in a particular year. For example, if you have a bond issuance or debt issuance in a particular year, that will become a more area of a significant risk in that particular year. Or if you have received a significant grant, that would become a risk area for a particular year. So we're always changing our risk assessment. We're refreshing it every year as we're approaching the audit, to once again, not to just have a template for executing the audit the same way every year, but really focusing on those risks, because it'll make it easier for your team as well to work with us when we're just really focusing on significant items.
Okay, thank you. One last question. I've been on the board for 17 years, and we've debated back and forth about doing an audit of our concessionaires, especially our rent-a-car companies. And it's not that we believe that they're intentionally underreporting, but like one area that we had concern with was during COVID. We're a small community down here, so they closed down a lot of their in-town offices, but kept the airport going. We were sort of questioning internally, you know, are all those people paying the CFCs for that? Do you have any experience doing concessionaire audits, and especially with rent-a-cars and coming out of COVID? What was your experience there?
I think, you know, in the scope of an audit, we will focus on internal controls that the airport may have on just verifying the accuracy of the self-reported revenue from the concessionaires, including just any food and beverage concessionaires or rental cars. We do find that when internal audit, whether it's external or internal function, performs concessionaire audits, they often find differences and discrepancies in the revenue that is reported to the airport. I historically have seen not significant differences, not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there are always a little differences here and there. And I don't think I have seen those bigger becoming larger after COVID than before COVID. I think it's been just pretty consistent because of the number of transactions that the concessionaires have to keep track of. We do have also, as I mentioned earlier, internal audit function, and they can help to develop a project for a specific concessionaire audit, or help your internal audit, if you have an internal audit function, to structure a project on auditing concessionaires and specifically rental car facilities or rental cars.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. We'll wrap this up. We are, well, two things. Number one, I know you mentioned cybersecurity. How do you assess that? How do you take a look at that?
So we have two ways. Ashley, do you want to talk about this
No,
one?
you can go ahead.
Okay. There are two ways. One is, as part of the audit, we have some IT specialists that we have come and assess general computer controls, and those are more focused on financial reporting. So can an external entity, does the airport and management and individuals accessing the systems, do they have security passwords and secure access and firewalls and things like that? So that's just kind of a basic security assessment. We do have a separate group that does do specific penetration testing for our clients to make sure that just as a hacker would, try to really break into the system. And that has been very significant part of our practice. We perform those tests sometimes on a quarterly and annual basis to try and break into our clients' systems to make sure that they're secure. And as you know, the cybersecurity for airports has been just a very heightened risk. When I talk to my airport clients, they experience cyber attacks multiple times a day, just numerous times a day. So staying on top of that cybersecurity is one of the priorities that I see every airport having.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
I think I'll just add a little bit to that to get into the nitty-gritty details. You know, we're going to ask questions about, did you have a cyber attack during the year? We're going to ask what kind of cybersecurity training you put on. We have a specific audit program that walks us through, our staff through those questions that we need to ask you as management and as the board about cybersecurity in general. So it is a focus area of our audit process, just in general, as part of the normal audit.
Okay. We are in the middle of a very large project, the largest project this airport's ever had. And we are going to, sometime this year, end up bonding some debt. And so I think what I heard was that you are also available for consultation on that, to just help to make sure that we're going down the right path. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, we we do make ourselves available for any sort of questions that you might have throughout the year. Of course, if it's going to take hours and hours of additional expertise, then we would want to have a separate discussion with you about additional fees that may result from that, or bring in other providers that, other consultants that are at Moss Adams that could assist you with that. But certainly we are always on call to answer, one-off questions and be available to our clients for those complex transactions that happen during the year.
That was the second part of my question is that a time and money thing that as soon as we start asking those questions, the price just went up?
No. That our fee includes time where you can just, have a call with us and, like I said, if it's going to take hours and hours of additional work and we are going to have to include a consultant or someone else on the team that may not have originally been anticipated, then of course we're going to have a preemptive conversation with you upfront to talk about that and see if you want to continue forward.
It really often depends on the bond counsel and a financial advisor. If we are asked to provide additional reports as part of that bond issuance, so any kind of acknowledgement letters or certifications, those generally become separate engagements. But if it's just a general consultation with the management team that does not involve us issuing separate reports, that's part of our year-round services to the airport.
Okay, and then I had one last question. I think if I heard correctly, the first year, what you do is to kind of take the model of what was done last year and ask for that information and have that information uploaded. So do you internally have an ability to then flag something if it looks like it needed a little more emphasis, even though maybe it hadn't had it in the last couple of years?
Certainly. I'm not necessarily sure I understand completely your question, but I think it refers to if we're going to ask for management to put things into our format or our requested format. Am I understanding your question correctly?
Correct. But what I heard was you'll, even into your format so that it's an easy transition, you would ask for the information that was gathered last year.
Correct.
Exactly. Yes. We would accept all of that information that that management has prepared for your prior auditors. We would take that information. Absolutely. We don't ask for you to put things into our templates and our forms. We use the information that you've historically provided to your auditors.
So then the second part of my question is, if there is something that they missed, how does that then, if you're just following what they did, how does that flag in your system?
Well, we have a PBC listing that is called a provided by client listing that we won't have access to that. We will, if you did select Moss Adams, we would review your prior year auditor work papers and potentially ask management if they had a copy of the prepared by client listing that we could use as a starting point. But throughout the audit, we are updating that listing to include items that we requested that hadn't been provided before or that we hadn't requested before, just to be sure that that list is all encompassing going forward, so that in the next year, when you're gathering information for the audit process, we're providing you the most updated listing from all of the information that we had requested from the previous year.
I just want to add to that a little bit. So before we start our audit, we will review your predecessor auditor working papers. So we'll review their prior year work and we'll make sure that we can rely on those prior year balances and the work that has been completed. So going forward, we will, in addition to that, we'll perform a risk assessment for the current year audit that we would be working on. So any additional requests could be asked of the management team, but we will go through the financial statements, the preliminary financial statements, and identify those items early and make those requests. Most of the time, management already has reconciliations and other supporting documents for the balances that they include in the financial statements. So you wouldn't be asking for, can you perform this or provide this additional schedule? Management most likely already has it. There will be some different requests than the predecessor auditor, just because our risk assessment may be just a little bit different, or you just had a different year that different transactions became more significant.
Okay. Well, thank you both very much. And thank you for answering our request for a proposal and a good presentation. And we'll be back to you.
Thank you so much.
very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We take 5, even though.
Sure.
Four of us have been.
I could not.
It's 11:22 and we're all back. We will have a discussion now of the choice of auditors. And a big question directed to Mr. Wilson is, did you hear anything here that was like, wow, or anything that we should be aware of?
Okay, so let me give you kind of my sense of it. Of course, LSL has a home team advantage. But, you know, I thought the presentation was very, very professional. Brandon's obviously has a lot of, you know, subject matter expertise with us, so you would expect that. But they are admittedly, you know, a local firm, so they're, you know, by far much smaller than the other two firms. The Crow presentation, I think is, you know, it's a big firm presentation. It was very polished, although they couldn't quite get their slides going at first. But I think they have, you know, they're very formulaic, and I think that, you know, they have the expertise, no matter what would come up. My sense on Moss Adams is, I think a couple of their responses were kind of weak and not really responsive. So that was a little disconcerting to me. So overall comment is, as Mike stated, the end product will be the same. I mean, you'll have a set of audited financial statements. I actually asked Brian Gallucci the question of going into bond financing. Does it make any difference if we have like a little firm or a big firm, you know, putting their stamp on our financials? He thought not. In terms of probably fee expectations, interestingly enough, when we were coordinating this, the partner from Moss Adams somewhere in the conversation said, well, you know, she was thinking about bringing out her team, and she said, well, you know, we're not the low cost provider here. So she volunteered that. So I think the expectation is, you know, the cost of the audit would be more if we went with Moss Adams or Crow. The other comment that goes through, what goes through my head when I hear all this is, and I mean this completely sincerely, we have a very rigorous monthly closing process here. We're not the kind of entity or company that like waits to the end of the year to get the books right. Our books are right every month, right? So any auditors that we bring in here, it's going to be fine because we're super. There will be inefficiencies in terms of, and I think Director Leffel's question was not really answered by Moss Adams.
No, it wasn't.
In terms of, question is, can they rely on the opening balances? Do they have to kind of audit opening balances? They should do something, whereas you stay with that LSL and it's like, well, it's their carry forward work, so they know the opening balances are right because those were the closing balances that they audited. So So there is that. I think it's, although, they think the bond financing sounds big and scary. I don't see it. I mean, I don't think there's nothing here that I think it's outside the competency and expertise of the existing staff to present fairly and account for. So I think if you were to engage, let's say Moss Adams or Crow, they might want to make other inroads into the airport in terms of consulting services and other value-added stuff that you may or may not need, be there if needed, but I don't really see it. So there was nothing. I think you saw probably a pretty strong similarity in terms of presentation, approach, risk assessment. What I did 40 years ago, not much has changed in the game. So yeah, so nothing, no red flags. But again, I do think Moss Adams was a little non-responsive on a couple of your questions. And I thought LSL did a really great job.
I will only add that at this point, you should discount what Mark said about the Moss Adams comment regarding not the low-cost provider. You're not at that point yet. What we're asking you to do is, based on what you've seen today and based on what you've read in the proposals, is there a firm that you feel we should begin negotiations with on the discount the, not the low-cost provider. You don't have to pick the low-cost provider. You can pick whatever firm you are most comfortable with, given what you know about our operations and what you know about the future of our operations and the chemistry that you felt. All three firms are very, very capable of providing you with a great audit and a thorough audit. So as you deliberate, please consider the capabilities and chemistry that you just experienced, and not so much the fees. I know LSL provided you with a fee. They did that on their own. We did not ask them to do that. The process should be, we go back and negotiate a fee, bring it back to you for engagement.
So even that fee could end up changing.
It could, yeah. Yeah, there was no negotiation involved in that. They did that just by rote memory.
One thing, I mean,
Director Gagliardi.
yeah, well, I mean, one benefit of bringing in multiple firms is actually to be able to rack and stack and compare and contrast what the cost would be. How do we get that? I mean, without actually picking you off and saying, please go negotiate. We get one chance to say, we select this firm, now go negotiate the best price, but we don't necessarily, for me, I don't necessarily know if that is the best price compared to contrast to what the other providers might offer. So,
in a professional services environment, you're not necessarily looking for the lowest cost provider.
you're looking for the service.
For you're looking for that chemistry, you're looking for the skill set, you're looking for what the firm can do for you based on what you think you need. So low cost versus high cost shouldn't come into your equation there.
Okay.
If you said, go negotiate with Moss Adams, and we brought you a feedback that was outlandish and you were not happy with it, you reject that fee and we go to the second.
On that point, I wouldn't know what, I have no qualifier. I have no way of knowing
Yeah,
what is an
the only
outlet.
qualifier that we could give you is what we've paid in the past.
Right, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
and-
right.
yeah.
So, the other question I have kind of on this is timing. When do we need to make a decision?
Well, the auditors would typically come in and start their interim work, usually the last week of April.
So it's soon.
Yes, we're on a short fuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Director Pick.
Thanks, Chair. So to me, the second firm has a deep bench. They gave a great presentation. I'm not sure we need it. I just don't know that we need all of that capability of this massive nationwide firm. The third guys, sorry they were third. I'm not sure if it was because they were third or if it was actually the substance of their presentation, but I barely stayed awake. And so I'm, sorry. The first guys, the guys we've used, I've never heard from them. I thought their presentation was strong. I have a predisposition to want to stick with the horse we're riding, especially right now because we're transitioning, or not transitioning, we're embarking into a really robust phase of our staff's going to be busy. You're going to be busy doing a lot of stuff. And if there's a variable we can sustain and not change, that matters to me. And these guys seem to be a good firm. I don't see a need to change. And in terms of our need, to the extent that I understand it, they seem to meet it just fine. That's all I have.
You're here.
So I am, and I did ask the question, I'm very sensitive to the fact of how much time it takes to change, even if it's really simple.
Yep.
Simple is never real simple. I was intrigued by the cybersecurity piece of that. I thought that was kind of interesting, and I think that's the last one. They were the only ones who mentioned that they do cybersecurity audits. That did intrigue me because that is a huge issue everywhere. I felt like overall the last presentation was very repetitive. It didn't go into anything outside of we do this, 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 we do this. It just kind of kept going on and on, which is probably why it didn't hold total attention. I think the middle firm, I agree, is with Director Pick, is that they've got a lot of bells and whistles, but I'm not sure that we need all of that or that we need to pay for that. And if there is one piece of that we need, we could always go to their consulting piece of that to get it. So I think they were strong. I just think maybe they're a little bit bigger than what we need. And I look at who all their clients are, all of them, particularly the last ones, they're all big. Those airports are all big. And just kind of what we're finding with our architectural firm, they're used to big pocketbooks and big staffs that can just, whistle up one little piece of it, where we've got a very small staff that kind of does all of it. So I have been very impressed with LSL. They were the best audit firm we've had since I've been on the board in almost 16 years by far. I am disappointed that Ryan couldn't find it somewhere to zoom in if he's going to be the person. I mean, we know Brandon, but we don't know Ryan. So I found that a little. Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's like, hey, I'm sorry if you're on vacation and your wife says you got to be skiing with the kids this morning, but on the other hand, it is your paycheck. So, and we are a potential client for them. So that was my biggest drawback with that, because Brandon's always good. He's been good for 5 years, and he was so much better than what we had previously that he was a superstar. So I guess the fact that that firm is still, that he will still somehow be involved, even though he's not the direct partner, gives me comfort. But I guess we'll see how we do with Ryan. It's only 1 year. It's 1 year with a partner change, and you can always go back to another partner. So if he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. But I think my inclination would be to stay with them and not put everybody through a big change.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't see a need to change if staff doesn't recommend it. If there's something that we're not getting out of all of them, I was impressed with the second group. I thought they had a good presentation. Thank you. They had their whole crew there, but yeah, I agree with Director Leffel and Pick that we don't want to make a change just for the sake of making a change, especially with everything else we have going on.
So I guess our direction
We
is
have our direction. Thank you.
go negotiate hard.
Yeah.
We have our direction. Thank
Maybe they can cut their price because they don't have to teach us how to upload into their system. So thank you. And how soon do you notify the firms?
We'll complete the negotiation. Won't take long because we already have a pretty good idea of what they're going to propose.
Oh, I meant this afternoon. Will you tell
Yeah,
two that
yeah.
they have not
what I
been
would like to
selected?
Do is have the conversation with LSL first, nail down the price and then tell. Because I think you already have a sense of what their costs will be, but we'll refine that.
How does the price compare?
We don't know.
There's no comparison. You mean to what they charged us last year?
Yes.
The current proposal is more than what we have been paying, so we'll have to have that discussion.
Okay. Substantially more or?
Somewhat, but not substantial.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say, since I sat on some other boards, that every one of them, the cost of accounting has gone up because there are not enough accountants.
Yep. Growth business.
Mm-hmm.
Job.
You know numbers, that's where to be. So, okay. We'll leave it to you all to negotiate. Number 3 item is Local Agency Formation Commission of Monterey County, LAPCO ballot.
We have the ballot in your packet. There are 2 candidates and the board has been asked to choose one. The 2 candidates, I believe there were resumes or information about each. You have a choice between Russell Jeffries of Moss Landing Harbor District or Chad Lindley of Monterey County Regional Fire District. We just need direction from the board and we'll file your election or your vote on your behalf.
Do we just go down the
Yeah,
roll call?
Can I just, do you want to start?
Not at all. Go ahead.
You don't want
Smart
to start?
man, smart man.
Director Pick,
No, ma'am.
Director Miller?
What do you mean, questions or?
Yeah, do you have any questions or do you?
Oh, no, I know both these people.
Which one of you
Well,
like?
I'd be interested in your views.
Well, my views are that they're both qualified. And I've known Russ a long time. He's former mayor of Salinas, I think, when I moved here in 1982.
Joe, right?
Oh, way before. Yeah. He's been running the Moss Landing Harbor District pretty much with an iron hand for years. And, he's very involved with the community and has a lot of things going on. He had a landscaping business he retired from, and now he helps his son on his used car lot up on Highway 101. So I know a lot about people. Chad, I have known, oh gosh, I guess since the 90s. And he's born and raised in Chular Canyon. What I find with LAFCO is that most of the things that are coming before us have to do with South County and with the ability to preserve farmland, agricultural land, but also to provide for the housing for farm workers and for the entire community, and to provide for processing plants for agriculture, which is all part of agriculture. So I think that in looking at what's just recently come before LAFCO, what is coming, it would be very good to give South County a voice, a continued voice. The other thing is that there are either 10 or 11 fire districts in Monterey County. There are 43 districts that will vote on this. 10 or 11 of those are fire districts. And fire covers, we all need fire protection. just like we are the regional airport, I think they are the regional fire. So I think it's important that fire retains a voice on LAFCO because they are a specific need for every resident in this county, no matter what.
And with Pete leaving, there's no other fire people?
There's no other fire person with Pete leaving. So, for that, I would say that that's also, to me, an important piece of it. So, my, inclination would be to support, Chad.
Thank you. Carl, anything to add?
So-
No, I agree. Both these people are capable.
Based on that, I'm inclined to go with Chad.
Me
Okay.
too.
Yeah, me too. Me three.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll make a motion.
I'll move that we select Chad Lindley.
I'll second.
And Madam Chair, we should probably open it for public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will open that up for public comment and I apologize. If you have a comment and you're on Zoom, would you like to raise your hand for a comment?
Madam Chair, we see
All right, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back for a roll call vote.
Director Gagliardi,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Leffel.
Yes, thank you. Okay. We can just move right along and get you all out of here.
Hmm.
So you have all of the staff reports and everything in your package. Did anybody have anything on any of the staff reports they wanted to comment on, question? I'll leave it to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on any of the reports that are in the package? All right, I'm going to close public comment. Director Pick.
Yeah, Madam Chair, one brief comment on air services and marketing. Just want to highlight the great ad work being done on the increased air service and projected air service. Those commercials are, I'm seeing them every day. It's in social media feeds and it's great news and it's great that it's getting out there.
Thanks.
Can I ask one leading question?
Certainly.
With all this great news and I think how successful we are in attracting the carriers and then the carriers wanting to expand. We touched on something in finance about enticing Delta to come and possibly getting a direct to Salt Lake and some of their places because they've got some great hubs. Does one encourage the other? Does if all the other carriers are here and they're busy and they're doing the stuff, is that like a feather in the cap, or is that something that we can kind of go to Delta?
To an extent, success does breed success.
Yeah,
So yeah, the more positive news we have out there, the more successes our current carriers have, the more likely we are to have someone else take a look at us, or at least consider taking a look at us.
Yeah.
So it does help.
Because the last time we talked to them, we were in a different place, and now I think we're
No, exactly. And that's the benefit of that success.
Right.
is people will start talking to you.
yeah. Well, I'd like to encourage that.
Okay. We'll have some discussion about that very topic at
Are you going
On
to ask
Friday.
a question on the board report?
Yeah, well, just sort of follow up on that line. How many seats does this add with the additional flights that we have coming in?
128 on American, 76 on Seattle, or I mean on San Diego, and about 46 or so on.
No, isn't it 76 to Denver now?
Yeah, but last year we ran 50-seat aircraft twice a day. Now we'll be running 76-seat aircraft, so the difference is what I was trying to calculate in my head there. You'll have 276-seat airplanes to Denver, where
Okay.
last year you had 250-seat airplanes. 52.
Okay.
Can't do that without my calculator
Right.
anymore.
I thought we were flying, 2 flights to Dallas. We were only flying 1 prior to this.
Right now, we are flying only 1.
Okay.
They pulled back in November, I believe, to
Okay.
just 1 a day. And now they're going back to 2, which is a pattern that they usually do. They've done since they started the service in February of 2021.
Oh, great news. Thank you.
So if I do the math and we're adding 2 76s and 1 126, that's 278 seats added a day.
It's a
Is
good
that
number.
the, I think that's the answer to what he's asking.
Yeah. That would add up fast.
It does.
So,
It
is that
does.
correct?
Not to contradict, but we think that right now the San Francisco run is not here, so it's looking like United might be swapping the Denver for the San Francisco. So not sure.
Yeah, we don't know that. But to Denver, you'll have 276-seat airplanes.
But we would lose San Francisco
don't know that.
potentially.
We don't know that.
Currently, it's not flying.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
It is very possible they do what they did last year, which is bring it back spring, they just haven't announced it.
Okay. Well, we love to trumpet good news, but we also need to let the public know if something's going away, I think, just so that they understand that. Because if people are looking for it. Again, it's social media. We see it where people say, hey, I was trying to book it and it's not when we want to go. So we'll keep us apprised if it's disappearing. Budget and finance. Does anyone have any questions from us on budget and finance? The minutes were pretty complete.
No questions.
Okay. Air service marketing. I think we had our comments on that. Anything else? Airport development lease. I read your report. I didn't have any questions. John, do you have any questions? For me?
No.
It was a light month.
Yeah.
Local jurisdiction liaison, we have not met. Local Agency Formation Commission will meet next Monday. Regional Taxi Authority. Hasn't met, have you?
Nope.
Okay. TAMC. Director Miller?
We had a meeting and what was the big, well, we completed the environmental, a lot of people coming out, very organized, opposed to the roundabouts on Highway 68. But the environmentals have been completed. We've gathered all the information, so that's just where we are right now. But there is a campaign out there to not do roundabouts. Did we ever, I know we talked about submitting a letter supporting a roundabout at least
Yes.
in front of us.
Yeah, you did. You had a presentation by TAMC and the board elected to support a roundabout. Your suggestion was instead of 1 lane, you wanted 2 lanes. But you did support the roundabout.
And we did that in a letter that we sent to
Yes,
them.
we did.
I don't remember us talking about it, but thank you for doing that.
We did talk about it.
Carl, is,
After Doug did the presentation.
I remember talking about it, but I don't remember saying that, I don't remember hearing that a letter was submitted.
Yeah, the outcome of that was you directed staff to write that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Carl, what's the, any specifics on the opposition, or is it generally just don't do it?
The opposition is impressive. You have the usual opposition, Mike Weaver, and his group. but you also have the fire department opposed to it. You have the sheriff writing a letter opposed to it. The belief that it will slow down emergency responses.
The fire department has a problem with if it's too narrow of making the turns, and now we'll slow it down. I have no dog in the fight
Yeah.
saying that's what they've been saying from the very beginning.
I just can't imagine TAMC would design something that would inhibit public safety access. Sorry.
I travel the one up by Pebble Beach and Highway 68. I have never seen any issues up there
Me either.
with all kinds of big trucks. I see them navigating that all the time, and I've never seen anybody stuck and unable to get out of it.
That is
Do complainants have to support their assertion? Do they have to say, yes, this, in their research, they can explicitly
That's
say
what the letters are saying. They're saying, they come across with a lot of authority, that this will have an adverse effect on public safety. It's the latest. But it's hard to say if they're not responding to their constituents telling them that they don't want to see it. So I don't know.
There's a very organized group of, I think they're engineers, who have presented the argument that it will actually speed things up and be much better if they just time the lights correctly to take the flow on through, as opposed to anything else.
Pressure switch.
And they have done their homework. I've read their presentation. It's pretty good. So
One of the other things that they keep pointing out, this thing is only estimated to save people minutes. And when you say like it's gonna get me there 5 to 10 minutes sooner to Salinas, you ask yourself, well, what's it worth? But I don't know. I just know that before the roundabout at Highway
Yeah,
68 and
right.
1,
that was
I got stuck multiple times. It took me 2 or 3 cycles to finally get up to that light.
right.
Yes.
And it seemed long. Maybe it seemed a lot longer than it really was, but it's saving me a lot more time since that's been there.
Ditto.
My knees are all over Europe. And when I lived in Europe,
Yeah.
I can't remember a street light.
it was terrifying, my first roundabout in Rome.
Yeah, right. That's where I learned.
Yeah, I was on the worst one, the Arch of Triumph in
Yeah.
Paris.
That's
I
probably the
got
first
into that first circle and I couldn't get out of it.
Me too. I've been
Turn around
trapped,
There's a movie.
Because I wanted to
movie
get
about it.
close to it to see it, with my kids are in the car.
but then we couldn't get out.
They couldn't get out.
sounds like a vacation.
That's right, exactly.
it
There
was.
was
Yeah.
a movie
Well,
that did that.
They
Chevy
took
Chase
it
was
as
in the
an
car.
experience, Trust me.
Special Districts Association did not meet. They will meet next month, so there has not been a meeting.
Who's going to be the speaker? Do you know?
I don't know, because I'm no longer the chair.
Oh, okay.
So I'm out of that business. Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, and I did not attend. So Denise, can you send them and tell them I am the representative? Because they're not sending me anything, and I missed the meeting just because I didn't have it on my calendar. I didn't get anything from them, and I didn't go online and look to see
I think I sent it to you, but it came from me.
the calendar.
Not the calendar, it was a meeting
That was a month
information. Yeah.
That was not this month, that was a month ago. So anyway, I apologize. I should have gone on and looked and I didn't, so. With that, we are through with that, so we will go to closed session.
All right.
Thank you all. It is 12:56. We are out of closed session and there is no reportable action coming out of closed session. So with that, we will adjourn. Thank you.
You said there were other items on the agenda? Okay.
Future agenda.
We're good with that.
Okay, yeah.
We're done.
we don't have John Friday.